Hi, welcome to Making Computer Science Extreme. Sorry, Sababu, go ahead.
No problem. But thank you all for visiting. We have an exciting session entitled "Make Computer Science Extreme" with Jackie Reid from MindSpark, who's going to share a guide and some wonderful resources to help you market computer science to stakeholders. Also, wanted to remind you if you would like to enable closed captioning, there is a CC icon below the video window that you can click on to enable those things. And I'll go ahead and let you take it away.
Thank you so much. Sorry. I saw we had some participants, and so I got really excited. I was like, yay, we have some people joining. This is an incredible opportunity. So we're going to be coming together today. Let me make sure I'm accessing with two computers here. So make sure I'm moving my slides, but we're joining here today to talk about how we can market computer science to stakeholders, to internal and external stakeholders, and what does that look like? What does that extreme marketing look like, speaking to all of our students? My name is Jacki Reid. I'm the Vice President of Computer Science Education and Initiatives at MindSpark, and I'm the Code.org Regional Partner for Colorado and Utah. In the chat on Hopin for our breakout, you'll notice that there is a workshop guide in the chat. It's going to force you to make a copy once you click on it because you're going to take some notes there. It's for you. It's a note catcher. But go ahead and open that. If you have any questions, let me know. But go ahead and open the chat and open the workshop guide that's in the chat. You're going to be using that for the hour we're together. So while you're opening that workshop guide, and again, once you get it open, if you could put in the chat that you're good, got it open, ready to go, that would really help me so I know that we all have access to links that we're going to use for activities and things like that. So feel free to use that chat. And as we're finishing up that workshop guide, thank you so much. As we're finishing up the workshop guide, and opening that, I'm going to set the stage for our time together. So we'll know we're successful if we have increased and leveraged knowledge about what a robust 9 through 12 CS pathway looks like and brainstormed how to market this CS pathway to stakeholders. We'll be referring to these core concepts throughout our time together. This is the K through 12 computer science framework concepts. I really like this summary because it buckets really nicely in a couple of handfuls the core concepts and the core practices that are foundational to computer science and make it very easy to use. So this is also in your workshop guide. So part of our time together, we're going to be looking at what is the business doing? What are industry people, organizations, what are people outside of education doing that's successful and works for them to get people engaged in what they're doing? And so one of those first things we're looking at is scaling and replicate what already exists. For example, if I'm an industry or in a business and I am creating a new product, I would not create a product and spend money and expenditures on creating this product without first doing research on what already exists. What's out there, what's working well, what gaps exist. And the same thing comes for us in the classroom. So not just in the classroom, but in education, right? When we're thinking about these K-12 pathways, like that's a big project to take on. So when we're thinking about the CS 9 through 12 K pathway, we're going to look at what already exists and how can we bend, blend, and break what already exists that fits with our own pathway, and then how do we market that to stakeholders. Some of the common things we're going to look at are dual enrollment, certifications, apprenticeships. And before we get started on our activities about marketing to all stakeholders for high school computer science pathways, think about what does your high school currently offer, or the high schools within your district, what do they currently offer in terms of computer science, dual enrollment, apprenticeships, internships, certifications, AP courses, and take note of that on your workshop guide. So if you have your workshop guide open, you'll notice that there's going to be some slides over here to the left. Let me make my screen a little bigger. And you'll notice right here that you'll see this slide that talks about what does your school or the schools in your district offer. let's take about 2 minutes just to quickly jot down, brainstorm, write some things down to answer these questions on our workshop guide. If you have any questions, just enter those in the chat. For anybody who just joined us, the workshop guide is posted at the top of the chat. So go ahead and open that and find this slide and think about this question. If you guys have the ability to unmute, feel free to unmute as well if you would like to share. I should have had some music playing for our work time. So sorry about the silence. So what does your school currently offer? Does anybody have schools that are offering dual enrollment certifications or apprenticeships, internships? If you do, can you enter that in the chat? What does your school currently offer? So I see some things coming in the chat. Apprenticeships through gift program, AP courses, dual enrollment. If you're working on thinking about maybe you're doing some research, what does my school offer? You can always come back to this workshop guide later and finish answering this question and researching about what your school currently offers. But we're going to go ahead and move on. So we're going to take just about 10 minutes to research what some exemplar high schools are doing for their CS and computer science IT pathways. So I am going to point you to your workshop guide. Here in your workshop guide, you'll notice the slide that we're on, and you'll notice this computer science high school link and note catcher activity. You're going to open that. It's going to force you to make a copy. Once you have this open, you're going to pick a color band. The color bands are honestly just there to help group. It looks like somebody accidentally edited this version here that I copied for you guys. I'm sorry. The color band is actually just to help you guys group courses together. And I need to go in and delete some of the notes that are in there. But once you guys get started on this activity, if there's notes in there, go ahead and delete them. And I'll try to do that once I start our timer to get started. So pick a color band that just groups the schools together for you. And think about the questions that are on the top. What does the school offer? What does it look like and feel like for students? And why? What types of students are choosing to take these pathways and why? And then we're going to talk about how we would market these types of courses to students and how we were going to market our high school offering to students. So we'll take about 5 minutes and then I'll check in with you guys and see if you need more time. If you have any questions, please unmute or let me know in the chat. For anybody that just joined, open the workshop guide at the top of the chat for this workshop, and then there's some links in there. Once you open the workshop guide, go down to the slide that we're currently at, and we're just investigating some high schools that are offering computer science at their pathways and what those pathways look like, answering the questions at the top of this workshop guide. If you have any questions, please enter those in the chat and I can help you. We have about 4 minutes left to research these high schools. If you have any questions, just let me know. Enter those in the chat. You can unmute. If you don't need any more time, also let me know that too. Welcome for anybody who just joined. There's a workshop guide in the chat. And if you go ahead and open that, find the slide and go ahead and engage in this activity for the last minute we have, and then we'll move on to our next activity. Okay, let's go ahead and find a good stopping spot and your research activity. And let's take a minute and talk about the top 3 things that you found interesting, areas of growth or gaps or similarities between a high school and your high school's program. But let's think about those top 3 things and add that to your workshop guide, which would be right here. So report the top 3 things. And if you just joined us and you didn't get to do that, think about what your high school offers for computer science or IT while everybody else does this activity. For everybody else that got to complete our high school activity, please report those top 3 things here in your workshop guide. We'll take just a minute to do that. Okay, go ahead and wrap up that brainstorm about those top 3 things, those interests, those gaps, those similarities, those growths. I'm going to give anybody a chance to go ahead and unmute or enter in the chat. What was something you found interesting when looking at the high schools, the exemplar CS IT pathway programs that are currently out there? You can also enter that in the chat, but just because we have a short amount of time, I'm going to go ahead and just keep us moving here. So now that we looked at what are some currently robust CS programs out there, what are the programs we offer at high school that have to do with computer science and IT? Now we're going to look at how we can market these programs to stakeholders. So we're going to take another lesson from the business industry world to think about how we can make our computer science program consumer driven, which in education is student driven. So let's take a step outside of our education, teacher, administrator bodies for a minute and enter a business professional, industry professional role, just for this activity. Okay, so I want everybody to join me and participate in this. And right now, you're a business professional. You are leading a company, and you need to make your company leading the market, competing against other leading companies. So you're a business professional, and we're going to take a minute to engage in this activity as business professionals would. Okay, for just a minute. So humor me and engage in this. So as a business professional, we are doing some market research, and we know that top performing companies are Capital One, Infinity, and Starbucks. So we know that these are top performing companies. These companies have got it going on when it comes to sales, when it comes to the way they're marketing to customers, how they're speaking to a customer, when it comes to the products that they're giving to customers, right? Like they're giving customers what they want. They're marketing to all different types of customers. So we know that Infinity, Capital One, and Starbucks are rocking at all these things that they're doing. And as business professionals, we need to be doing that with our company. So we're going to investigate, how are these companies doing this? So individually, no, actually, I'm going to put you in a breakout room for this. In a breakout room, you're going to pick one of these organizations. You and your partner, your CEO, you and the person that you're in a breakout room with. You're going to pick Capital One, Infinity, or Starbucks. And what you're going to do is you're going to answer these questions. And these questions are also on your workshop guide. What does this company offer? So what's their product? What are they selling? And how have they adapted to their audience to be leaders in their market? So how are they adapting to their consumers? So that way they're staying leading the market, right? Starbucks has always been leading the market in coffee. How have they always stayed ahead of the curve? And what are they doing to do that? What are they doing speaking? How are they speaking to consumers? So in your group, you can capture answers to these questions here on your workshop guide. And I'm going to go ahead and put us in a breakout room. So this is going to be fast. We're going to have 4 minutes just to Google Capital One, Infinity, or Starbucks. Think about what they offer, jot down notes, brainstorm. And this is really a brain dumping session. So it's not meant to be perfect. Okay, let me see if I can get these breakout rooms going. Before I open the breakout rooms, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create our breakout rooms. Your job is to pick with your partner one organization, one industry, Capital One, Infinity, or Starbucks, and think about what they offer and how have they adapted to their audience to be leaders, to be consumer driven. How have they always stayed ahead of the curve? How have they done that? So we'll take 4 minutes to discuss these 2 questions. Stacy and Alba, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. Let me get back here on my first monitor, and I appreciate you guys letting me know I was muted. I hope that you guys gained some information into the organization you picked about what it offers. Capital One, Infinity, Starbucks, what are they selling, and how they have adapted their to their audience to be leaders, how they have adapted their products, how have they adapted their messages, how have they adapted what they're selling to consumers. Now we're just going to take another minute. So we thought about how have they adapted? Now we're going to think about why. Why have these companies adapted to be leaders? And remember, I'm not a business person. I have no business school education, but we're just doing this creative activity, and we're being business people, business professionals for this activity. So have fun. Remember, you don't have to know all of the answers, but why do you think these companies have adapted? What is their market strategy? What do you think? So we're going to spend just a couple more minutes on this activity thinking about the business. Think about your same business, Capital One, Infinity, Starbucks. Think about the same business you already picked. And now in our breakout rooms, we're going to take 4 more minutes and think about why and what. Why have these companies adapted, and what is their market strategy? Are they transparent? Are they sustainable? Are they promoting individuality? So what are they doing, their market strategy? I'll go ahead and put us back in breakout rooms. Give me just 1 minute. Okay, welcome back. Thank you for your patience as I was figuring out how to close our breakout rooms there. So some things that we've learned so far are we've learned that other high schools that are offering computer science and IT pathways offer more than one thing. When it comes to dual enrollment, AP courses, certifications, apprenticeships, internships, high schools that are offering robust pathways are offering more than one way for students to access skills and knowledge in computer science and IT education. Okay. Something else we've learned is this information around what industries are doing to be consumer driven, how they've adapted, why they've adapted, what they've adapted. Now let's think about education. So now we're in our business professional personas for a minute, learning about how businesses think about consumer driven, not education, but how they think about consumer-driven approach. In education, we call that a student-driven approach, right? So now let's put on our teacher hats again, our educator hats, our administrator hats. In education, whereas in business, they talk about consumer-driven, we're talking about student-driven. We're talking about student-centered. How do we make CS and IT pathways student-centered, student-driven? Let's watch this video real quick to get us thinking and brainstorming about some ideas.
Hi, my name is Drakshan and I am a level 3 computer science student. I just completed my final year project, which was a game I developed for children undergoing anesthesia before surgery. The reason I chose this project was so it could help children in the real world who are about to undergo surgery and ease their anxiety during the process.
So this high school student was talking about what they did there for their final year project in high school and their high school pathway. So thinking about consumer-driven, student-driven. Now let's apply this to our school,
Hi, my name
our
is
system.
Drakshan.
Sorry about that. Let's apply this to our school and our system. So how are we make our computer science and IT pathway consumer driven? And let's think about the extremes here, right? So we're thinking about what's our pathway look like and what can it look like? What can our pathway look like? What can we offer? Are we offering 2 or 3, 4 different avenues for students to build these skills? Right, think about that extreme when you're thinking about this. And you're thinking about how can you adapt the computer science high school pathway to be more consumer driven, to be more student driven, to be leaders in the market and in the state across education and high schools and computer science and IT. So how can you create that pathway and what does that look like? What does that pathway look like? We explored some resources. You have access to those to look at too. And we also talked about how you can connect to students, right? Being vulnerable, transparent, speaking to students' interest. So we're going to take 15 minutes and you're going to create a flyer. Your flyer is going to be around your high school pathway, that extreme high school pathway. What does that look like? What does the extreme high school pathway look like when you're marketing this to students, to parents, to board members, when you're telling people, when you're telling other teachers about the high school you guys feed into and what that high school offers, or you're telling other districts what your high school offers in computer science and IT. What does that flyer look like that talks about those extremes of computer science and what that looks like for your high schools in your district? So we're going to take 15 minutes to put that in the form of a flyer. I suggest during your 15 minutes, you jump up here to these core competencies and you think about what core competencies and core practices that you might want to highlight in your flyer, right? Maybe it's computing systems, data and analysis, impacts of computing. Maybe there's a few of those things you're highlighting in the way you're marketing to your internal and external stakeholders. Does anybody have any questions before we take 15 minutes to create that flyer? And we'll actually just let's take 10 minutes. We're gonna take 10 minutes to create the flyer, and then we'll see if anybody wants to share about their flyer at the end. All right, let's take 10 minutes, create a pitch, create a flyer. How would you market this high school CS Extreme program to internal and external stakeholders? I'm gonna put on some music for us, but Feel free to unmute or answer any questions in the chat as you're creating your flyer to market.
Another day to find you shying away. I'll be coming for your love, okay? Take on me, needless to say, I'm obstinate, but I'll be stumbling away. Slowly learning that life is okay. Say after me, it's no better to be safe than sorry. All things that you say, is it life or just to play my worries away? You're all the things I've got to remember. You're shying away. Well, I'll be coming for you anyway. Take on me. Take me. I'll be gone. You imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up in just a time and you say you belong to me and it's my heart. Imagine how the world could be so very fine, so happy together. I can't see you, but you. The skies are blue. No matter how they toss the dice, you got to be the only one for me. Is you and you for me. So happy together, so happy together, so happy together, so happy together. Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, it leaves my mind. Imagine how the sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? Travel the world and seven seas. Everybody's looking. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to get you. Want to abuse you. Some of them want to. Dreams are made of this. Disagree. I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody is looking for something. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to get used by you. Some of them want to abuse you. Some of them want to be abused. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree? I travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something.
Okay, go ahead and join us back on the video. I hope everybody had time to just throw together something creative, something fun, some kind of flyer or some kind of pitch. Does anybody want to talk about, maybe give us some kind of descriptor of what you created with your flyer, maybe the intent you saw behind using the flyer you were creating, or how others might perceive that information? Does anybody want to share their pitch or their flyer? I think we'll have to share the flyer verbally because I don't think you guys can share your screen. But if you can't share your screen, please share your screen. You can share what concepts and practices you highlighted in your pitch or your flyer. You can also share what types of skill building avenues students have access to or they will have access to. So maybe that was something you included in your flyer. That could be something that you share when you're thinking about those CS extreme pathways for students.
Oh, sorry, my screen locked up. I was trying to share my screen, so I had to refresh. But yeah, I don't mind sharing my poster.
Yay!
I have more time, but I'll share and just, I guess, talk through it for a few seconds. I know we get ready to run out of time. So let's see if this works real quick, if you don't mind.
The last thing we're doing, Savabu. So thank you so much for sharing your poster. I appreciate you being brave and sharing.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Do you all see? What do you see?
I looks like your screen. Yep, I see your screen.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So the first thing I tried to do was find an image that kind of represented a little bit of diversity. So it's not just really homogeneous images in the picture to try to, attract a diverse population. Say a little bit about the courses that perhaps would like to, and I see it didn't paste all of the styles, but I can go back and fix that. That I like to present, like IDT or IHT, AP Computer Science Principles, AP Computer Science A, and then would love to start offering Python, which I believe has just been permitted in the state of Georgia. So that's kind of where I was. So I can stop sharing.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Sababu. I love it. I love kind of where you're seeing different things, like the area of growth, where you would love to go, different things you would love to offer. And I love how you included a picture of diversity, of inclusivity to help recruit that as well on the other side, on the flip side. So one thing I think we can pick up from industry and putting those business professional suits on is that sometimes thinking about what already exists out there and how can you replicate that and market that to students, make it consumer driven, make it student driven, right? What do students care about? What speaks to them? How are you going to recruit students into this pathway, into these pathways? So thinking about marketing CS and those extremes really will help create a robust, dynamic pathway and increase access and participation for students within your district and that K through 12 system. All right, so that brings us to an end of our time today. I think we just have 2 minutes left. So I put a link here to MindSpark Learning. It's the last slide on your workshop guide right here. I'm going to show you. MindSpark's website is on this slide as well. There's a CSPD idea board, just some ideas of common CSPDs we see as a computer science consultant and educational nonprofit at MindSpark. So that's there for you guys to have as a resource, as a reference. And if you guys need any help with anything, feel free to email me. My email's right here on this screen. And if you need help with grant writing or grant planning, part of the work I do is help as a thought partner, think through some of those logistics, those logistical pieces, those planning pieces, and the sustainability. All right, folks, thank you guys for being here today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference.